Welcome everyone to No One Daily Bitcoin Pod. Happy Sunday Fun Day. Church is in session. In today's show, I'll be breaking down the latest Bitcoin technical analysis as well as strategies Michael Saylor hints at buying the Bitcoin dip. That's right. He posted the infamous Saylor tracker yet again. Also, Robinhood CEO Vlad tweets, "See you at Bitcoin 2025. Are they going to be announcing a Bitcoin reserve?" We'll be discussing this, as well as Max Keiser was the first to use the term strategic Bitcoin reserve back in 2017. In fact, I found the original tweet from October 6, 2017, quoting him here. Yep, game theory triumphs again. Central banks will view Bitcoin as a strategic reserve and new mining space erupts above $100,000. So shout out your holiness, Max Keiser. Also, Bitcoin traders swapped at 1.25 billion long 40x, which we discussed in yesterday's episode. Now for a short as Bitcoin price slid under 108. We'll also be discussing Bitcoin inflows projected to reach 420 billion. Happy 420 again next year in 2026, according to the latest from Bitwise. We'll also be discussing Trump administration going big on digital assets to trigger $2 trillion in demand for the treasuries. We'll also be discussing breaking news. Bitcoin's MoonShot. Fundstrat's Tom Lee sees 1 mil to 1.5 million Bitcoin target in play. We'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market. All this, plus so much more in today's show. If you're new to the channel, important, smash the likes, go ahead, subscribe, ring the bell, turn on all notifications to receive daily premium crypto news alerts every single day, 7 days a week, just like this. Today is pod episode 2002. I'm your host, JV. It's Sunday Fun Day. I'm going to be preaching the Holy Gospel of Satoshi for the next couple of hours. And yeah, the market's corrected just a tad bit. We're currently floating just above 1076. At the time of the live stream, let's kick it off with our market watch, as we do each and every day. As you see, pre-low biddy is down 1.25%, Ether down 1.15%, bulk of the market correcting and in the red. Checking out coinmarketcap.com. The current crypto market cap currently coming in at 3.38 trillion. All-time high is 3.75 trillion. So we're not too far off. The Bitcoin market cap sitting today at 2.138 trillion. We got 102 billion worth of volume for the past 24 hours, and the Bitcoin dominance as of today, 63.3%, same as yesterday, with the Ether dominance coming in at 9% even. McGeeven. And checking out top 100 crypto gainers past 24 hours, we got Hyperliquid leading the pack, Zcash and Monero. Which alts, if any, are you bullish on for the bull? Holla at your boy Nippinator. And checking out the crypto bubbles. Currently, the bulk of the market correcting and in the red, safe to say 95% of the market, red over green. Zooming out for the weekly, I'd say 70% of the market in the red, maybe 30% in the green. Zooming out for the monthly, I'd say 80-20 green over red. Respect the pump. And checking out the Crypto Greed and Fear Index, we're back at a 74 greed as of today. Yesterday, 66. And a few days ago, we did touch upon extreme greed. And lo and behold, we had the correction. The higher the number goes, more likely of a correction. The lower the number goes, the more likely of a biddy pump. And checking that, let's now check out the infamous time chain calendar as of today. We're on block number 898,340. We have 151,660 blocks into the halving of 2028, and you can currently exchange one fiat monopoly dollar for 930 sats, so you know what to do. Pick up the sats, put down the gats, and pick up some Bitcoin caps from our man Sergio over at bitcoincaps.net. And if you don't know, now you know. Let's transition into our TA, aka astrology for the baddies. That's right. Pulling up. We're just going to do live charts today. I'm not going to read you any particular analysts. So we'll just cut right to the fruit and veggies here. You should be able to see live on your screen. Checking out currently the 1 hour chart via Coinbase, via TradingView. Look at all these targets. Holy moly. It's very rare that we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 targets on the hourly chart. But the most bull one in the green is currently at 116.3. It is a bullish pennant formation sensation. Just shy of that, there's another one sitting at price discovery at 112.4. A current all-time high achieved like 3 days ago was 112 even. So this will put us right back above it. And then there's another bull scenario in the red at 109.8. And there's a couple bear scenarios, but who cares about the bears? They're in a hibernation right now for the winter. And just saying, the crypto winter. They'll come around in a few years, I'm sure. But anyways, the 4-hour chart, you can see there's a bullish pennant formation as well, and another target sitting at 116.3 on the 4-hour chart, also looking pretty bullish. Zooming out from there, and we're going to get like a weekly close in about 90 minutes as well during the live stream. We'll keep a lookout. Thus far, obviously, we've had a very green week, hitting the new all-time high, and you'll see that in a moment. But here you're looking at the daily. No particular bull scenarios, but you can see today and yesterday has been a bitty correction over the weekend after hitting the new all-time high. It was really after Trump announced the tariffs on, I think it was the UK or Europe, like very high, like 50% or something, and a lot of the markets started tanking. But checking out the weekly, you can see rising wedge, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're about to get our 7th green consecutive weekly candle close in roughly 90 minutes. Also a rising wedgie and a bull scenario target, which has been in play for several months at 124,000. In my opinion, that's the next most logical leg up, somewhere between 120 to 130 before we melt the bear faces in the $200,000 range. But you let me know your thoughts. And zooming out from there, we'll take it a step further. Checking out the monthly, we got like another 5-6 days left to go for the month of May. And May has not been disappointed, has been pretty bullish, already more bullish than the previous month, and we still got another week to go. So hopefully we can continue the bullish momentum here in Q2, and this is the most bullish season of the 4-year cycle. Typically, it's 12 to 18 months post-halving, we hit the cycle peak for the new cycle. And ironically, you know what I mean? We just hit a new all-time high, but we can continue marching for like another 5 months if history is to rhyme or repeat, because I think it's only been roughly 13 months since the previous halving, which was just in April of 2024, which would make sense. It's May of 2025. So it gives us like a 5-month window gap of bullishness, and I reckon we may melt some faces. I think that's the most likely scenario, 2, 3, 4, 500,000 per coin. But you guys let me know your thoughts. My personal prediction has been calling virtually every day. Cycle bear, 222. That's the bear scenario, virtually a 2x from where we're at. My base case is 420, which means the most realistic performance. And then my bull scenario is 1.1 million. And I say that because Bitcoin has no top, as fiat has no bottom. I know Max Kaiser is calling for 2.2 million, and this is the prescription I wrote as Dr. JV and Dr. Nip. 1.1 million in play. Let me know if you agree, disagree. Holla at your boy. But next up, let's discuss the latest with the Sailor Tracker. You know, infamously, every single Sunday, he posted as a precursor, like a pre-framing, that tomorrow is going to be another big announcement. And he's been doing this every week like clockwork, and today is no different. So let me pull this up for you guys. You should be able to see the article here. Strategies Mikey Sailor hints at buying the bitty dip. Let's go, Mikey. That's right. Sailor signaled an impending Bitcoin purchase by the company amid the recent dip from the all-time high, which is currently sitting at 112, achieved on May 22nd. 3 days ago, feels like yesterday. He says, I only buy Bitcoin with money I can't afford to lose. Hell yeah. The company's most recent purchase of 7,390 bitties on May 19th, valued at $765 million, brought Strategy's total holdings to 576,230 BTC. If Strategy completes the acquisition on May 26th, it'll mark the company's 7th consecutive week of Bitcoin purchases. And here's the infamous Sailor Tracker, and let me show you the actual tweet. Proof of work speaks for itself. As Bitcoin Magazine pointed out, Sailor posted the Sailor Tracker again. Sailor always announces another bitty purchase the next day, and here it is directly from the horse's mouth. Michael, I only buy Bitcoin with money I can't afford to lose. And you can see all those orange dots. It's a beautiful thing. The wonderful thing about Bitty is Bitty the wonderful thing. Strategy has become synonymous with Bitcoin. That's right. As the company continues stacking large amounts of the Bitty for the corporate treasury, inspiring other companies to pivot to a Bitcoin treasury plan, in which many are, creating a sustained demand for the digital asset from the institutional players, helping to bolster the Bitty price going up forever, Laura. Market analyst Jeff Walton recently said, Strategy may become a $10 trillion company and potentially command the title of the most valuable publicly traded corporation in the world due to its growing Bitcoin stockpile. Makes a great point. They have close to like 600,000 of Bitcoin right now. Strategy holds more of the best assets and the most pristine collateral. That's a fact, Jack, on the entire planet than any other company. by multiples. The hardest asset ain't no one messing with. It's like the Wu-Tang Clan. Protect your neck, kid. And you do that with the biddy. The analyst added most companies typically face challenges raising hundreds of millions of dollars in capital, but Strategy has been able to raise billions of dollars in under 2 months. I ain't never seen anything done at quite the level Michael does it, and I think he is virtually like the current Michael Jordan of Bitcoin. Everyone has their money on Michael because Saylor says he's going to be buying the top forever and he's never selling. And guess what, ladies? He's a single man. That's right. He has no wife, no kids. Just saying, just throwing it out there. Whereas most companies would spend the capital to overhaul the production process or operational costs, Strategy uses the depreciating fiat money raised from creditors and equity holders to purchase the rapidly appreciating asset for the balance sheet. Saylor previously forecasted the price of Bitcoin would reach millions per coin. I think 13 million was one of his base case scenarios within the next 20 years. Obviously, I'm way more optimistic than that, but even a worst case scenario, imagine we're only at 13 million per coin in 20 years. So be it. Is what it is. However, Bitcoin struggled to reach 150 in the short term. Saylor blamed the sluggish price action on investors taking profits prematurely and rotating out of Bitcoin due to the lack of the long-term conviction. JV blames it on Gary Gensler. JV blames it on the Biden administration, Senator Warren, and the war on crypto, and the Obama administration ×2. What do you got to say to that? Let me know. Anyways, also in some breaking news, Robinhood CEO Vlad tweets, "See you at the Bitcoin 2025." So is Robinhood about to adopt a Bitcoin treasury reserve strategy, following in the likes of Strategy's Mikey Saylor? And also got to give credit where credit is due. Max Kaiser points out, Max was the first to use the term strategic Bitcoin reserve back in 2017. That was my inception year of the biddy. And quoting him here with the proof of work, October 6, 2017. Yep, game theory triumphs again. Central banks will view Bitcoin as strategic reserve, and the new mining space race erupts at $100,000 and beyond. And if you don't know, now you know. And you got to give Max mad respect, because back then everyone said the governments are going to do everything in their power to either ban or make it illegal, but basically make it to where they will never adopt Bitcoin. And Max had the polar opposite stance from day one. Hence, he termed it. And also the global hash war and so many other legendary things. So shout out Max. Next story of the day, we discussed the Saylor tracker, most likely another big announcement tomorrow. Let me know how high you think that purchase amount will be. Do you think it'll be $1 billion plus or less than $1 billion? Holler. And now regarding, yesterday's feature story, we discussed this legendary trader, Mr. Wins. He did a $1.25 billion long with 40x leverage, which is pretty freaking ballsy to say the least. Well, guess what? He just reversed it to a short as the Bitcoin price slid under 108. Probably a smart move, as he would have got liquidated, because I think his liquidation price was around there. Hence why you don't trade with 40x leverage, but teach their own. Check this. Bitcoin failed to maintain 108 until the May 25th weekly close, as the price action struggled to shake off the U.S. trade war woes. Data from TradingView show Bitcoin staying near multi-day lows after snap losses accompanied the comments by Trump over 50% tariffs on goods from the EU. Crypto immediately felt the heat, and 112 remained Bitcoin's latest all-time high, again achieved on May 22nd, 3 days ago. Further episodes this time involve goods from specific tech giants, continuing the impact, leading market participants to complain about Trump's hold over volatility. Quoting the Trumpster from Truth Social, "I have long ago informed Tim Cook of Apple, the CEO, that I expect their iPhones that will be sold in the U.S. of America will be manufactured and built in the U.S., not India or China or anywhere else. If that is not the case, a tariff of at least 25% must be paid by Apple to the U.S. Thank you for your attention to this matter." What are your thoughts on that, by the way? What a gangster. More hot air from the manipulator-in-chief, Keith Allen said. Now, Allen nonetheless had good news for the bulls, arguing the price had more room to retest support without extinguishing the broader uptrend. Quoting him here, "The macro trend line of the two key moving averages on the Biddy daily chart currently has confluence with the yearly open. As long as Bitcoin is trading above that zone, the Bitcoin trend is still intact, and that is a fact, Jack." That's right. Popular trader Crypto Tony Montana, man, "I'm a political refugee from Cuba, man," held a similar view, suggesting that even another 4,000 droppity drop from the current level by the weekly close would be acceptable. Quoting Mr. Montana, right here. A close above 108, Frank, this week would be perfect. But F the Diaz brothers. A close above 104 is equally as okay as we clear the resistance zone. And fellow trader Merligen eyed the classic short-term price magnet for the biddy in the form of the new gap of the CME Bitcoin futures. That's right. Bitcoin just left a fresh CME gap of 107, and oftentimes we'll reverse back to close the gap, and we're not far off from closing the gap at a time of our life. These gaps don't stay open for long. This isn't the gap at the mall. Expect price to come back and fill it. Eyes on that level. All eyes on the pretty little bitty 107.230. Again, 107.230. Keep your eyes out. And we already know that when flipped the short, as we already touched upon, it was once $125 billion long, but began losing money over the Trump volatility. As noted by Look On Chain, not only had Win closed his long, but had replaced it with a short position worth around $110 million. I mean, obviously, these are billionaire traders. Top trader James Wynn flipped bearish on Biddy, switching from long to short. And I guess that's all due to that tariff news from Trump, just FYI. He opened a Bitcoin short position of 1,038 Bitcoin, 111.8 milli at 107 an hour ago with a liquidation price of 149. Proof is in the pudding. There you have it. There's a lot of trading for an illiquid choppy weekend. According to Dan Crypto Trades, this is the chop continues. 420, another omen right here. 420 projected inflow after the infamous freeze frame. That's right. Bitcoin inflows projected to reach 420 billion next year, 2026, according to Bitwise. That's right. The biddy demand from a diverse range of investors, including publicly listed companies, including Bitcoin treasuries, sovereign wealth funds, and ETFs, and nation states, is projected to drive substantial capital inflows to the asset in the coming years. According to the crypto index fund management firm Bitwise, inflows to Bitcoin can reach 120 billion by the end of 2025, with an additional 30 billion anticipated in 2026. That's right. And its recent report forecasting institutional flows to the biddy 2025-2026, Bitwise highlights that the U.S. spot Bitcoin ETFs recorded 36.2 billion in net inflows in 2024, surpassing the early success of the gold shares, which revolutionized gold investing. Bitcoin ETFs reached 125 billion in assets under management within 12 months, 20 times faster than gold, projecting Bitcoin to outperform gold significantly, with inflows potentially tripling to 100 billion annually by the year 2027. Send it, broskies. Despite the surge, 35 billion of biddy demand remains sidelined in 2024 due to the risk-adverse compliance policies of major corporations like Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs, which manages 60 trillion in client assets. These firms require multi-year track records, but growing Bitcoin ETF legitimacy is expected to unlock the capital. Hence, heck yeah. Just like Bob Marley said, the cannabis plant unlocks key elements of the mine. Well, now we're going to unlock key capital amounts we've never tapped into before. Going wild on the charts. Family. Jurian Timmer, director of the Global Macro Fidelity, remarked, the biddy is trading above 100, signals the potential to take over gold's role as a store of value. And right now, that's like a 22 trillion market cap. So, and also, if you miss my prediction from Jurian Timmer maybe a week ago on the podcast, he's projecting Bitcoin soaring to literally $1 billion per coin by the year 2038, 15 years out or 13 years out. Right around the corner. That's probably one of the most bullish projections we have ever covered on the stream. Let me know if you saw that, and if you missed it, you can always go back and watch it. Highly encourage you to do so. Shout out Jerry and Timmer. In addition to the ETFs and wealth management firms, Bitcoin's appeal as a reserve asset is rising amongst private companies, sovereign nations. Companies with Bitcoin on the book currently hold around 1.1 million worth of Bitcoin, which is 125 billion, accounting for 5.8% of the total Bitcoin supply. Satoshi has 5% of the supply, which is virtually 1.1 million, which I consider stalemated. They'll probably never move, which will make our Bitcoin that much more valuable. Sovereign nations collectively only hold 57 billion worth of Bitcoin. 500,000. So Michael Saylor's company alone holds more Bitcoin than all the collective sovereign nations in the world. Let that sink in. U.S. has 207,000 allegedly, but they've never shared the proof of work, and allegedly 100,000, according to Samson Mao. Of that, 200,000 belongs to the exchange Bitfinex. China, roughly 194,000 Bitcoin. And let's not forget, North Korea, I think, has over 200,000 Bitcoin from their hacking Lazarus group. Correct me if I'm wrong. Those are the numbers we've covered before. I don't know why it's not listed here. and the United Kingdom at 61,000 BTC. Bitwise senior investment strategist Juan Leon, research-led and research analysts expect a continued wealth allocation to Bitcoin. Thanks, Captain Obvious. And outline bear, base, and bull case scenarios. Again, mine is bear 222 this year, base 420, bull 1.1. Send it. Let's get it. In the bear case, nation states reallocated just 1% of their gold reserves to Bitcoin, driving 32.3 billion of inflows, 323,000 BTC, a mere 1.5% of the BIDI supply. Multiple U.S. states created the Bitcoin reserve at 10%, adding 6.5 billion, while wealth management platforms allocated 0.1% of the asset, 60 billion. Public companies contributed another 59 billion, bringing the total inflows to over 150 billion. The base case envisions a 5% nation-state reallocation, generating 161 billion. Wow, 7.7% of the supply. U.S. states raised their adoption to 30%. Wealth platforms allocate 300 billion, and public companies doubled their holdings to 118 billion. This scenario aligns with the Bitwise forecast of 120 billion this year and 300 billion by next year, capturing 20% of the BIDI supply. Why? In the bull case, a 10%, this is the bull case, listen up, a 10% nation state swap of gold for Bitcoin drives 323 billion of inflows, which is 3.2 million BTC, 15% of the supply. U.S. state adoption rises 70%. Wealth platforms allocate 1%, and public companies quadruple their holdings to 235 billion. Altogether, these inflows can exceed 426 billion, absorbing 4.2, almost 4.3 million BTC. The acceleration of institutional investor and governmental interest in the BIDI underscores growing confidence of the Bitcoin long-term value, with 95% of the supply already mined. As of May 2025, Bitcoin is increasingly being viewed as a hedge against inflation and fiat currency debasement. Trump's admin going big on digital assets to trigger $2 trillion in demand for the treasuries, according to Scott Bessent. That's right. The Secretary of the U.S. Treasury Department says Trump's admin is committed to making America a global crypto hub. Well, thanks, Captain Obvious. We've heard that from Trump's own mouth. On X, he said the White House is going all out on digital assets because of the anti-innovation agenda, by the regulation, by the enforcement approach of the previous administration, nearly destroying the industry. Thank the Biden administration. We are going big on digital assets. The Trump admin has made digital assets a priority. The past administration starved and almost made extinct a lot of the companies and pushed them offshore. 100%. And it's a damn shame, but at the same time, it makes me so grateful for where we're at and how far we've come, right, broskies? He says the government is particularly focused on the stables. Cryptos pegged to commodities like fiat currencies, like the US dollar. Yay. He should just be focused on Bitcoin, but I digress, quoting him here. What we want to do is apply the highest US regulatory and anti-money laundering tax avoidance standard to the digital assets, especially the stablecoins. Bessent also says stablecoins can ultimately drive strong demand for the US debt, quoting him again. I've seen estimates that just over the short term, stablecoins can create $2 trillion of demand for the U.S. Treasuries that are Treasury bills. Put that into context, the number is probably about 300 billion right now. Digital asset companies deserve regulatory clarity, and that's exactly what we're working towards. Passing the stablecoin bill is just the start. Now for our feature story of the day, fam. Bitcoin's MoonShot. Fundstrat's Thomas Lee sees 1 mil to 1.5 million target in play, according to his most recent interview. So let's break this baby down. Tom Lee, co-founder and managing partner and head of the research of the Fundstrat Global Advisors, anticipates a bright trajectory for the BIDI as adoption continues to widen. Speaking recently on stage at the Consensus Conference in Canada, Lee remarked that in time, it should have the same network value as gold. And my understanding as of today, gold is like a 22 trillion market cap, broski. So said it. The Fundstrat co-founder has been a long advocate for Bitcoin, clearly, and earlier this year projected that Bitcoin would outshine all the others in 2025, clearly what we're already doing, even eclipsing the gold performance. Take that, Peter Schiffmeister. Renowned for his market forecast, Lee told the attendees at the Consensus Conference in Canada that Bitcoin should be understood as a network value asset, quoting him here. Bitcoin is a little bit like a Swiss Army knife because it really does meet the fact that it's a risk-on asset, but it is a network value asset. And I think that as more people adopt it, it still explains most of the increase in price. And of course, it is a great safe haven asset. I mean, I think over the next 10 years, I think the easiest way to think of Bitcoin is that it should have the same network value as gold, as he outlines here for the prediction. You know gold, it is a 23 to 30 trillion asset. That means Bitcoin should be at least $1 million to $1.5 million, and that's precisely where we're trending, just saying. For years, Mr. Lee has maintained, not Bruce Lee, by the way, but Thomas Lee, maintained that a Bitcoin gains traction amongst individuals and institutions. Its network value grows, positioning it as a compelling alternative to the precious metal, the rock. Would you rather have the hardest asset created in human history or a rock? I'll take the pet rock BTC all day, particularly in the era defined by inflation, currency dilution, and financial instability. He's long envisioned Bitcoin as a hybrid, part risk-on tech asset, part safe haven, and has repeatedly proposed that its market cap could one day match or exceed gold. And in fact, you know who the first to put out that report? I got to give credit to the Winklevoss twins. I think it was back in 2017 or 2018. They actually published a research report claiming that Bitcoin would surpass 500,000 per coin, eclipsing the gold market cap. And back then, the gold market cap was like 7 or 10 trillion. Obviously, it started accelerating more recently with the price now hitting a new all-time high. I think it's probably around 3,600-ish ballpark, but you let me know, hence why the market cap has grown so significantly, which gives Bitcoin that much more room to grow and do another 10x from where we're currently at. And just as a heads up, a 10x from the current all-time high would put us at like 1.2 million per coin. Let that one sink in. The path to parity with gold, however, demands sustained trust, infrastructural maturity, and macroeconomic conditions favoring decentralized alternatives in a fragmented financial landscape. So you guys let me know your thoughts surrounding Thomas Lee and his bullish 1 to 1.5 million Bitcoin price prediction. And we're going to flip this mofo to the uncensored version of the pod exclusively on X and Rumble. So if you're on YouTube, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the heck out of here. See you on the Rumble.